Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, back again with another massive news update. We're going to talk about a very interesting segment last night on Monday Night Raw and what happened in the commercial break as well, which has led many people to believe that a WWE superstar is calling time on his in-ring career. Also, we're going to talk about the Revival and the Young Bucks, who were a little bit cheeky on social media last night and did some tweets that could have potential ramifications for the future. Finally as well, a wrestling star is about to make his MMA debut in the next month or two. We're going to reveal who that is and when it is and who he's against and all that good stuff. So let's waste no further time and let's get on with all of the news. First and foremost, last night on Monday Night Raw there was a storyline which is part of this whole overarching thing of Baron Corbin gradually becoming more and more corrupted by power and doing more and more outlandish, unfair, heelish things. He booked Rhino and Heath Slater in a match against one another, a singles match featuring the two tag partners, where the loser would lose their job. Heath Slater beat Rhino in about a minute and a half. He dealt with him in startlingly straightforward fashion, and I guess the immediate response then was, oh, it's just part of the angle. Corbin's going to get foiled. This can't be the end of Rhino's in-ring career in such short fashion. But then, in the commercial break, it was reported by various news sources and fans there live at the event that Rhino sort of bowed, soaked in the applause, and took his time leaving the arena, which has then led many people to believe that it might actually be legit. If this is indeed the end of Rhino's in-ring career, I would suggest that it's quite a surprisingly quick and easy way of getting him out the door. I think someone like Rhino, who of course wrestled in ECW, in Impact where he was a champion, in WWE for many, many years, and was a beloved member of the roster for a long time and continues to be, I'd suggest that he deserves a bigger send-off than this, which to me also means that I think that there possibly could be more to come in the story of Rhino. Often, when retirements are teased or alluded to but don't actually happen, it is a sign of an eventual retirement coming at some point in the near future. So maybe it is, the beginning of Rhino's retirement. Maybe it is just Rhino's retirement straight away. I don't really know, but a key clue comes from WWE.com's official summary of the storyline and what's going to happen next, where in kayfabe they've written, oh, Rhino got screwed by Corbin and words to that effect, and now he's lost his job, but tune in to see what happens next. So even if this is Rhino's last official WWE match, I would suggest that this implies that there is more to come and maybe a chance for Rhino to get redemption. Even if it doesn't lead to him getting another match, I don't think it's the last we've seen of him in an on-screen capacity. Should he retire as well, I'd suggest that he would probably be kept on by WWE, if he wants to, in some sort of backstage role as maybe a producer or a trainer or something, because he has decades and decades of experience. So personally, I hope this isn't Rhino's send-off, but if it is, I don't think it might be quite as bleak as it originally seemed last night. Another interesting thing that happened during Monday Night Raw was on Twitter. Well, a lot of interesting things happened on Twitter during Monday Night Raw, especially in the past couple of weeks, but this one was very interesting indeed. The Revival were part of this, another installment of this ongoing storyline that everyone hates, where the Lucha House Party, the babyfaces, keep on screwing the Revival in 3-on-2 handicap matches, or in the case of last night's show, a 3-on-1 handicap match against Scott Dawson, and everyone kind of laughs along, all the babyface commentators and everything, because it's Lucha House rules, hey, they're just wacky. And we're meant to be laughing at the Revival, I guess, but everyone just seems to feel sorry for them, like they are being screwed week in and week out. During this little part of the show, the Young Bucks took to Twitter, I believe it was Matt Jackson actually, who said, the Young Bucks and the Revival will face each other one day and everyone will rejoice. Remember this tweet. Scott Dawson then took to Twitter shortly afterwards in response and basically mimicked that original tweet, saying one day the Revival and the Young Bucks are going to face each other and everyone will rejoice. Remember this tweet. Will Ospreay then tweeted saying one day my dad will be proud of me. Remember this tweet. And it all seems to be leading to, well, it's generated obviously speculation that the Revival might be leaving soon, and then we'll finally get that grudge match between the Bucks and the Revival that has been built up over the course of the past year or two, where the Bucks have been building this whole sort of thing around the idea that they are the best tag team in the world, not the Revival. And it all kind of started during the time when Revival were on top form in NXT and were legitimately being looked at as the best tag team in the world. And the Bucks would say, no, we are. Then the Revival would kind of hint back at them, basically saying, no, we're the best tag team. And it was all kind of a back and forth thing like that. But they've never gone this far. They've never hinted at an actual match, obviously because the Young Bucks are not in WWE and the Revival are WWE contracted. But this is very strange behaviour, and as well, I'd suggest that if the Revival really were happy with their role in WWE, they'd have just ignored these tweets. They wouldn't have even entertained the idea of having a match against the Bucks, because it would put their own jobs, I guess, in a little bit of jeopardy. They'd be suggesting that they'd be happy finding work elsewhere. That's what they've done now, and it's quite exciting if you're a fan of that sort of independent wrestling, and the Revival versus the Young Bucks personally would be a great match for me. I'd love that. But it's also quite bad news if you're a fan of the Revival in WWE and you might not be too familiar with wrestling outside of that. So it's a strange one, and one that we'll monitor and bring you any updates regarding if anything does develop. And finally, Jack Swagger has announced on the Ariel Helwani podcast that he is about to make his mixed martial arts debut for Bellator. We knew a long time ago that he'd signed for Bellator, but it seems as though a date has been set and an opponent for his first MMA match. His opponent will be J.W. Kaiser, who I've never heard of before, I'll be honest with you, but he has a record of 1-1, so he's at least won a mixed martial arts contest before, and that's set to take place at Bellator 214 in January 2019. Will Swagger win and continue his dominance of both the professional wrestling and now the mixed martial arts worlds? Because let's not forget, of course, that he is the current Lucha Underground champion, a decision that caused quite a furore online at the end of Lucha Underground's most recent season. But he is the Lucha Underground champion, he is set to make his Bellator debut, and I guess the era of Swagger, or Hager, Jake Hager we should have referred to him as, I guess, throughout this news piece, the era of Hager is upon us. That's all for now. Thank you very much for watching this news update. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to at Jack the Jobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic. And don't forget as well to check out our Patreon if you wish, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, if you haven't already, to hit subscribe and to